Have you two started thinking about kind of like, all right, we put a whole lot of money towards the house. What are we going to do with the money now?
Yeah, we've been thinking about it. But, again, I think showed us the numbers and, we're aware that, okay, now we've paid off the mortgage, but it's like Mike said, our bank account's still kind of, we're trying to recoup the money that we paid towards the mortgage. So it still just doesn't feel real. We've been trying to think about it. And, Mike has been starting to read that Die with Zero book and really trying to get in that mindset. But it's hard when we're 40. We've been living our entire lives one way, and suddenly now we're trying to shift how we think.
Been trying to like put things in perspective too for Shannon too, where it's like Shannon, we came home with $3,000 more in our bank account than when we went on vacation, from before vacation, like things like that kind of helps.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, certified financial planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
In between the last meeting and this meeting, I got the email that you paid off your house. Is that right?
Yes.
We did.
How's that feel?
Great.
Great, but also I feel like it doesn't, we just paid it off, so it doesn't feel any different yet, other than it's done, and that was pretty exciting.
Mike, why does it feel great to you? And Shannon's like, I don't know if I'm there yet.
No, she has a point, definitely. Yeah, I guess like it hasn't really sunk in yet, but like I'm trying at least to be like, screw it, we got the money, let's do it, for like other things, like we just went on a vacation and stuff, so.
Did you end up throwing like the party to like burn the mortgage, or what'd you end up doing?
I haven't gotten the letter in from the bank yet. We got the escrow check, but nothing else.
I was just say he did make the cake to celebrate, but we also went on vacation like pretty much the next day, so that was kind of celebratory in itself.
Nice. And how was the trip?
It was great. We went to the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. I grew up with an exchange student from Belgium, so we went to. There's kind of what spurred us to go, but so we went to visit her family in Belgium and then just did some traveling on the side as well. And yeah, it was wonderful.
Nice. Now, do we need to do more travel or less after that?
No, more.
And Shannon, did you end up taking the new job?
I did take it, and since it's an internal transfer, I have kind of a transfer plan that my current supervisor and new one put together. So I start kind of part-time with both next week, and then I move fully into it for July.
Now, how do you know you made the right choice to move?
I think for me, I'm hoping it's the right choice. It's hard to know because I've taken other jobs in the past thinking it would be a dream job, and it just did not turn out that way. But I think from that, I learned questions to ask. So to me, when I'm interviewing, when they get to the end and say, do you have any questions for us? I tend to ask questions to make sure that it is something I want to do and that the supervisor is someone I want to work with, and just how they do things. It is internal, I mentioned, and I really like where I work. I just don't love my current position, but in jobs I've had in the past with this organization, I liked it. I enjoyed it. So, and this is something more along the lines of what I thought I'd be doing with my degree in social work. So hopefully it will be the right choice. It is also fully remote, which is I'm very excited about too, just because I've been commuting a lot too. So it's like the hours that I work now are long, and then I have a commute on top of it. So I'm excited to not have to do that.
Now, let me ask the question a different way. 6 months from now, we've got the house paid off. You guys got $1 million plus net worth. You don't have to work. So the question is really, how do we measure, should you still work?
Yeah. And yes, because I like the organization, I like what we do, I still want to do that. So even if we had the money, and I think that's what I like too about the flexibility of it being remote. Mike travels for work, and I could potentially go with him and work from there and still get to enjoy that. I feel good about this change, but again, I'm cautiously optimistic because I've been burned in the past.
You should know by now it's my job to kind of push and prod. And you said, if we had the money. No, you do. We'll come back to, we're actually going to work on that. So I'm going to ask Mike the question. So Mike, how do we know? So Shannon could not work and still travel with you. That is an option. How do we know this is the right usage of Shannon's gifts, talents, time to be working this job?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I have a more optimistic outlook for Shannon taking this job than she does.
I'm not trying to be optimistic or pessimistic. I'm just trying to so before we start something, I want to go, all right, I know I made the right choice because.
Yeah. Well, I think Shannon's personality too, at least my perspective of it. She is a very helping person, and she tries to do the good thing. Social work is definitely the right fit for her in that aspect. Yeah, and just keeps you busy too, and there's other things. Obviously, you can volunteer and stuff like that. If you wanted to do stuff like that, but I'm not sure measurably though, how or when is too much. I don't know.
Where I'm going with this, by the way, is the measure of money is no longer the reason to measure a job. Kind of hey, can you pick up an extra shift or overtime? No, don't need it. You're now working for whatever you enjoy. I'm challenging you to start the job with, this is what brings me joy. This is why I'm doing the job. And then all the other stuff will fall away. What do you think about that, Shannon?
Well, it's interesting because with my current job, I prefer to be in sort of a more supportive position than maybe working directly with people, just because I know I'm a very sensitive person and I tend to take things home with me. And I found myself in a position where I am doing that. And, part of me is a little bit bummed that I don't do well with it, because it's what I do for work is what I want to do. I just know for myself that I never wanted to be kind of on the front lines, because I just feel like I don't have the right personality for that. But I want to support the people that are, and because it is a really difficult job, and I want to do as much as I can to support people in that. And I feel like the job I took is much more supportive, and I like that. Sometimes I wish I could be that person on the front lines. I wish I did have the personality, because I think it's really important. I just don't. It's just at the end of the day, I just don't. And that's why this job has been such a struggle for me, because I take it home and it's just has not been good. Part of me is oh gosh, I wish I could stay in my current job, but I know that I can't. So I think that it's still the right move to be in the position I'm taking. And thinking about it too, and when I emailed you to say last minute, it is a pay cut, and now I'm suddenly panicking that all the fun things we've talked about doing, we're not going to be able to do, but it's still a fine salary. And I also kind of wrote back and I was like, well, we don't have kids and I don't have to worry about supporting them. And so this is kind of the thing that being child free allows me to do, is I can take this pay cut for a job that I know is a better fit for me.
Yep. And just for context, for those that didn't see the email, literally it was the question of that question I asked Shannon is your happiness, I'm just looking at my email. I said, take the job. The key question is your happiness worth $30,000? And the answer is no. It's not worth keeping up my happiness for a couple grand. Obviously, that's where you ended up. Mike, did you agree with that?
Pretty much said that word to word to her before she sent you the email. So
gotta love when we're thinking alike there, Mike. We're doing the right things there somehow. Well, Shannon, we have this next job for you, moving up the ladder or lateral, or what do you do then?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because it's hard to not sometimes want to do that. I suppose it depends on what it is. One of the things I really liked about this when I did interview, and I asked, because I specifically asked about work-life balance, and they gave me a very good answer, and I felt like they were being honest. So hopefully that's true, but it does seem like it could potentially still be there, but I don't know. I mean, I have to see how this goes. It's hard to answer that, and who knows if I'm even going to be good at it. Maybe I suck and that doesn't even happen. So we'll see. But I think the more we've talked about this, and it just gets you to think more about it, and it was helpful. And so I think I'll probably, hopefully, do a better job of actually thinking about, is it the right move, instead of just, yes, of course, because that's just what you do. Of course, you try to move up the corporate ladder.
Yep. You at the FU money stage. You got enough that you can tell them what to do with their job. And one of the challenges there is to figure out what truly fills your cup and what empties it. People talk about going into management. Man, anyone that's I want to be in management obviously hasn't been in management yet. Every time, like, I really want to. Okay, go right ahead. You got to do it once, and then you're like, ooh, that sucked. Like, and then there's some people that truly enjoy it, but that's a different population. It might shift your way of looking at the job if you're like, hey, I go in, I do my 9 to 5, I enjoy it, it fills my cup. That's it. Where you can have that conversation with your boss, and they're like, well, what's your development plan over the next 3 to 5 years? Where do you want to be? And you're like, here. They're like, don't you want to take extra training No. Which, by the way, is not the way your brain is wired. But like, it's okay.
Yeah. I think the other thing I was thinking about too, and I got over that, but it is something that I definitely care far too much what other people think as well. And taking a job where people are 15 years, 20 years younger than me, and well, maybe not 20 years, 10 to 15 years younger than me. And it feels like, oh gosh, what are they going to think that I'm 40 years old working with 26 and 27-year-olds? And, am I not good enough to be at a higher level than them? And I'm like, I can't think like that, but it's hard not to.
So we would call this an encore career. You pick it, you get to enjoy it. It doesn't matter what other people think. It's like my folks that want to like quit their job and go be a librarian. Librarians get paid like nothing, but they go hang around books all day long. Like, come on. Like, in most states, that's a pretty good job. In some states, banning books and who knows. But like, it's going to be one of those challenges that your identity is often connected to your job. Are you feeling that already?
Oh yeah, for sure. And especially because we don't have kids, and I feel like people tend to think, oh, you don't have kids, you're married to your career. And that's not really the case for us either. Yes, I want to work, but I am not that career driven. I don't want to move up the corporate ladder. I am not looking to be the CEO anywhere, even if I could, which I don't think I could. That's not my goal.
By the way, you two are stepping into what we call the child-free midlife crisis. I mean, this is dead on the point. You paid off the house, you've hit your goals, we've done some travel, and what's the next 40 years of our life look like? You feeling that yet, Mike?
I think about it, yeah. Yeah, I do think about it, but it's still... I feel like nothing's changed either at the same time, but maybe like, our bank account's recouping from paying the mortgage off, that I'm not really there yet. Like, we have to spend money, but I think it's coming.
Mike, you have to work to 55, or when's the first you can actually retire?
I think it's 56 and a half or 57, somewhere around there.
So you're stuck.
Yeah, I'm stuck. The golden shackles of the government, right?
Now, by the way, financially, you actually aren't, but we come back to that. But like getting people to like get out in the middle of a pension path with the government, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
Find the cool place and you rest, invest, like find a job that you can phone it in. They call it retired in place for a reason. You're already there. Have you felt that yet, Mike?
I mean, I still have like some ambitions too with where I want to go with my career, but that's, my own personal thing. I know you said like no management, or not no management, but management's.
No, you can go ahead and do it. I was just being kind of a.
But like, I feel like, I'm 41 now, and like, I feel like in the future, maybe when I'm like 50, maybe I could slide on that, like sunset my career in management or something like that. But I really like where I'm at now. I liked where I was for the last 20 years. So,
by the way, I'm going to challenge you, Mike. When you in a sweet spot, you like it. Nothing wrong with just riding it out.
Oh yeah, yeah. The grass isn't always greener.
I don't know your organization, but a lot of organizations, like the management turns over like water. I mean, they're just like in and out because it sucks. There are others where it's great, but all the problems you were able to pass off on somebody else, you are now the person to get passed to. Like, where does the buck stop? I don't know. If that's your passion, awesome, do it. Ring the bell, try it. But at least in the government, it's nearly impossible to then go back down.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't exist. Have you two started thinking about kind of like, all right, we put a whole lot of money towards the house. What are we going to do with the money now?
Yeah, we've been thinking about it. But, again, I think showed us the numbers and we're aware that, okay, now we've paid off the mortgage, but it's like Mike said, our bank account still kind of, we're trying to recoup the money that paid towards the mortgage. It still just doesn't feel real. It's, we've been trying to think about it. And, Mike has been starting to read that Die with Zero book and really trying to get in that mindset. But it's hard when we're 40. We've been living our entire lives one way, and suddenly now we're trying to shift how we think.
Yeah, and I've been trying to like put things in perspective too for Shannon too, where it's like It's like, Shins, we came home with $3,000 more in our bank account than when we went on vacation, from before vacation. So things like that kind of helps.
Yeah, and I actually want to get you to stop looking at your bank account and look more at your total net worth. The bank account day to day, it's going to bounce. It just is. Like, check came in, check went out, like whatever. By the way, one kind of homework thing, Mike, make sure now that the home is not being escrowed, you get the tax bills sent to you and the insurance bill sent to you, and I auto pay for both. Like, I've just had some people like, what? I got to pay my tax bill? I'm like, yeah.
Already went to town hall. Yeah.
Making sure. The thing is, looking at your bank accounts, not looking at your whole picture. I look at your total net worth right now, and we'll look at the actual numbers in a minute, but it says you got 1.19 million net worth. $3,000 doesn't make a difference on that. Like, let's just be honest. It's like stepping on the scale every morning. When you step on the scale each morning, it's like, oh, I'm going to have a good day or bad day, depending on like if I drank too much water yesterday. Like, it's not a real picture. The overall net worth is the direction. Now, so let's play this out. So you got just shy of 1.2 million. How long do you keep raising that before you make a big change?
Like a lot of that's in like kind of non-liquid asset though, like the house. It's like we're always going to need somewhere to live, so it's like there's 350,000 that is effectively useless. Because if we sell,
well, if you'd like, you can give me the house. You can give me the house. I will take it. I will find a use for it. If you're going to say it's useless,
not useless, but like that money doesn't like. It's not like tangible, like because we need somewhere to live and like we can't really touch that money or same thing with the retirement funds. It's like that's really like non-liquid because like we will get to it eventually. But for now, what can we do with it? Nothing.
To live in a house, which is also very important,
So your house being paid off is why your expenses are so cheap each month. You are leveraging it essentially. So like, are you saying the money doesn't count unless it's like in your bank account?
Well, I think it feels like you can't, it's not like we can't go on vacation with money from our house because we need a house to come back to. So even though our net worth might be one thing, if it's because we have a house and 2 cars and whatever else, right? It's like, well, I'm not going to sell my car and do something with the cash. I want my car because we live in Connecticut and there's no public transportation. So if I want to go somewhere, I need my car. It just doesn't feel like there's anything you can do with that except, again, I mean, it's not to discount having our house because we have a place to live and now we always will, which is fantastic. And we're very fortunate. And so it's great to have that, but it just doesn't feel like, oh, we can just do whatever just because we have, $350,000 in a house.
Okay. So how much money do you need to feel comfortable and where?
I mean, I feel like we already do feel comfortable.
Well, but Shannon just gave me a whole thing about we can't spend the money and like it doesn't count and like we can't use it. I'm trying, by the way, I'm working on money mindset. You're doing some mental accounting. This money's here. This money's here. This is for this. And I'm like, you're millionaires and living like you're like broke. So that's what I'm trying to find balance.
I honestly feel the same.
But I don't. I think, and again, this is where talking about like setting up a 529 for people or anything like, things like that it has also been fun to talk about because we're also just not really, we're just not big spenders, I mean, again, we spent a lot on our vacation. We didn't hold back, but we're just half the time we were very happy just walking around and walking through the towns we were visiting. And it's not like there was anything else we wanted. We didn't need to spend money on excursions. We go do things ourselves. And, we found castle ruins to go explore ourselves. And that's the kind of thing we like to do. We're just not necessarily big spenders.
You would be embarrassed to know how much we spent on our 8-night Europe trip, between the two of us.
I get it. But by the way, I'm going to start encourage you to like business travel instead of, coach in the back of the plane. Where I'm going is not necessarily that you should spend more money. It's just, what's the point? And this is the core of the child-free midlife crisis. Kind of like, okay, what's my impact? What do I do with my life? Why do I work? Why do I earn money? And you can give it all away. That's fine. It's just, your mindset up to date was, I got to pay off the house, got to do this, I got to get a debt. Like, cool. You rang the bell, you hit the goals. Now you take a victory lap and then come up with the next chapter. And what I'm worried is that you end up like living and treating it like you're broke still, which kind of sounds like what we're setting up.
We're trying to change that though. We're thinking of things that we can buy or do buy, to kind of like make our mentality, more like that. I'm sorry, I can't word it right.
No, I'm with you. So how much on average were you putting towards the house over the past 6 months? A month. How much were you putting?
We kind of put them in chunks. I mean, because we had 43,000 wrapped in the government bonds. How much would we put Shan's extra? Probably within 6 months, probably like 15,000 or something, huh? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mike, have you done the math on like how much extra money you'll have each month going forward total after your expenses? What's the number?
Now, again, like, I know you've seen our financial stuff and goes to our retirement funds and stuff like that.
How much cash are you going to have left over? 5 to 7?
$5,000 a month, I think, after expenses. And that's minus home insurance, taxes, car insurance, all that stuff.
Okay. What's your plan for the extra $5,000 a month now?
That's a good question.
Well, that's literally what we're spending the time here doing. Like, welcome to what this hour is about.
Yeah.
Shannon, what's your thought for the extra $5,000?
I mean, I think back to the three questions you asked us, if you don't have to work, if you have all the money in the world, if you're about to die and whatever. And, we both said traveling as one of we've talked about how we can do more of that in the year. And again, that's where the remote job is helpful because I could potentially travel and still work. And because Mike just has more time off than I do. And I mean, again, I know I could potentially not work, but I do want to work, flexibility there. But so we've talked about that and that's kind of it. And we did talk about setting up the 529 for a friend and their kids. I think that's kind of all we've gotten so far, but I think those are, when thinking about, okay, well, what's the purpose? I think for us, that's kind of it. But, I had that thought yesterday too. It was kind of a rainy day and we didn't have too much going on. And it was like, okay, what are we going to do today? And I was like, this is where I feel like, what are the things we wanted? Something else I mentioned was spending more time with friends and family. And we did a lot of that this weekend too, which was nice. But I think it's kind of figuring out what we want our purpose to be, I guess. And I think, again, changing my job, I feel like, okay, I could also have more time to do some other volunteering that I've wanted to do. Hopefully, I can start looking into that once I actually do switch positions.
Mike, any ideas?
Yeah, actually, Shannon brought up a good point too. We did talk about doing more like weekend excursions and stuff like that, where they're like bed and breakfasts or something like that, just for a Friday to Sunday or something like that. Things like that I'm looking forward to a lot. Just checking out like little towns or something like that here or there within a few hour drive.
Let me, for fun, I'm going to round your $5,000 up to 6 because it's going to go math easier for a second. Because it probably actually is more than 5 if I'm doing my back of the napkin math. I think you two.
Don't forget, I'm taking a pay cut though.
Yeah,
I kept reminding Mike that too. I'm taking a pay cut.
But that also impacts your taxes and we'll have to see where it settles out. What if we took a third of the money and put it towards a travel and fun account? Just that's your trips, your stuff with the friends, the whatever. Took a third and invested that to the future that we can put in a brokerage account, invest it, do that type of stuff. And the other third on giving. And I don't know what that giving means like this second, but just like, it's the 529 or, organizations that matter. But you could do a third for kind of fun and enjoyment, a third for giving, and a third kind of like saving for the rainy day or, car or whatever. What do you think about that structure?
I like that.
Yeah, same. Yeah. And I think that like part of that too is kind of like we already put money aside for a car/vacation fund. So like that's kind of, I'm not adding that into my $5,000,
Yep. And I'm trying to like eat up that other $5,000 and saying, okay, so we're putting more into the travel fund. But actually what I want that separated out from the car. Because when you put it together with the car, it like looks like it's for that purpose. Like where I'm trying to get you to imagine is we could spend, $1,500, $2,000 a month on travel and fun, but still be giving and still be saving.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I think about too, and this is probably a topic for another time, but I know we went over our estate planning last time, but also I do think about, okay, well, taking care of our parents and then being able to make sure that although we don't necessarily care if we pass money on, I don't want to still be alive and not be able to afford to keep myself alive. Do want to make sure and I'll be okay in that sense. And if I end up just me when I'm older, I've said I would prefer to be in a long-term care facility. I don't want to be by myself. Maybe for a little bit, but I don't for a long time. So I definitely want to make sure that we can still take care of those things.
Yep. And I'm looking at your numbers as we're talking. So right now I have Mike retiring at 57. I have Shannon retiring at the same time. and Shannon, you die with $80 million, paying for long-term care out of that, I'm not so worried.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fair.
And that's why I like kind of splitting up the extra money in three different things. So now the giving bucket might be for the, hey, how do we take care of our parents? It might be for charities. It might be for don't care. Like I purposely called it giving kind of like generically, because what I tend to find is if we can get your mind around, I'm saving some, giving some, and living on some, it gives you a framework to go, okay, some's going to the future, some's going to giving, some's going to living. I'm not just like YOLO and spending all my money and, but I've got 3 buckets I'm filling. How's that feel?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we have an idea what the travel and fun bucket is for. By the way, I'm going to then challenge you that you have to empty that each year.
Oh, no way. That's not possible for us.
You went with me on the 1/3 goes to fun. And when I went to spend it on fun,
like Shannon said, we're not big spenders, and
we're taking friends out to dinner. We are taking family out. We are doing the trip with family. Like, it doesn't have to be spending on you. By the way, when you get further through Die with Zero, you'll see, like, that's the whole point. Like, spending on experiences. I'm not even trying to get you to spend money, but what I'm trying to do is get you to, like, mentally, if you're going to take the money in the travel fund bucket and just make it into another savings bucket, we haven't changed anything. Now, let me try it a different way. I'm going to ask Mike this one particularly. Mike, so we're putting a third of your money into the giving bucket. Are you okay with giving that away each year?
It would have to align with our goals on what we want to give it to. Like, for instance, if we did a 529B, it's like no one's really eligible to receive that yet. I might have to wait.
Actually, you can make the account for 529 now. You don't have to.
I know.
But my point is, we're taking it out of our accounts, and so it's not yours. We've given it into something, whether it's the 529 or like charities or whoever we're giving it to. We're not just adding that into a savings bucket.
Yeah.
Shannon, you okay with giving away that money each year?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to ask you about the saving money because you're already good at that. Notice the difference in your reactions between the giving away the same amount each year as spending it. Like, I was like, give it away each year. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Spend it. No, we can't do that.
Well, it's more just, I feel like with what we like to do, it would be hard to do that. You said like, oh, spend it on your friends. I'm like, yeah, that's not something we've thought about is like taking friends out to dinner. I mean, I think sometimes that can be difficult though. If you go out to dinner with friends and you say, I'm going to buy it, people, no, you don't have to do that. I think people get awkward with that, but I think there's probably a way to do it without making it awkward, even if we had people to our home for dinner and did something like that. There's ways to figure that out, but I love that thought.
By the way, the trick, Shannon, is the bill never hits the table. You got to go find the waiter or waitress in between, give them your credit card and say, it's on here. I never see a bill. There's tricks. I'll teach you the tricks. By the way, at home, love this one. I've had a few folks do this where you bring in a professional chef to cook in your house for your friends. It is awesome.
Mike, you were That sounds great.
That does sound great.
and by the way, it's actually cheaper than going out because you can buy the alcohol for home and the markup on everything.
Yeah.
And what I've seen people do is like, if you get into this, like a lot of charities will like have auctions for, chefs or whatever. Cool. Once a month, we have a different chef come by and, we cater essentially a meal. That's something you can get a lot of enjoyment out of. By the way, it's actually not that expensive. I mean, it sounds luxurious, but it's kind of not. Another one.
It's perfect. Right up our alley then.
Yep. Another one is, and I know I mentioned before, it didn't go over well, but like somebody to help with the lawn, the housekeeping, any of that. Just food for thought, especially since you're working from home, making sure the place is nice. Start with once a month, they come by and do a deep clean. Come on. Are there other things you can do? What I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to get you you've been out of like a scrimp and save mindset. I'm not really trying to get you to spend a lot of money. I'm trying to say a third of your money is giving, a third to saving, and you're spending a third of it, of your leftover. I mean, like most people in the U.S. now are spending that much on stupid stuff. Like it's just whatever that is. But if you want to make that impact in your friends and family, awesome. Another one, we'll come back to kind of the plan for parents, but I like randomly sending that same cleaning person to help my mom around her house once a month or once a while. Just so she doesn't, she doesn't get around as well. you can do those little random acts of kindness, which can come out of the giving bucket also and make a big difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I like that thought too. Something like that.
We might find out that 20% should go to your travel and fun money and 40% should go to your giving. I don't know. But I'm trying to set up a structure so you have a plan for your money. What if we gave away half of the money left over each month? Would that make you feel better?
I think we're still in that scrimp and save mode too, where it's like, can't give away too much,
I'm testing the boundaries. That's what I'm doing.
I think it also, I like having the purpose behind it too, to giving it away. And I think once we start doing things like that, then we probably would feel that way, or even giving some of it to, local organization and charities that we work with. And I think that would be nice.
So part of your homework for next time, and we're not, just going to add it as homework now, is I want you to make a list of who you'd like to give to. And two things. One is the organizations, that's because that has to do with taxes. The other one is, are there people in your life that you would like to give a hand up, help, whatever it may be? Now, giving money to them directly often doesn't go over well. But can we find something else? So I've had folks, pay for somebody to go back to school, pay for somebody to get a financial coach, pay for somebody to get a personal coach, pay for a dietitian, pay for don't know what. There's probably people you could help out. That'd be a whole lot better you helping them now than when you're dead and giving them your $80 million on the way out. Can you think of anything that jumps to mind on that?
I can think of a few things. Yeah. I think with our close friends, we kind of laugh about this because, obviously we're okay. We're fine. Most of our friends have more money than us, or at least that's our perspective. So sometimes it sort of feels like, having a chef come over, that'd be something fun to do with them. But I think that's, it would be, I don't know how that would go over with some, but there are definitely people that I can think of that something like that would be good. Yeah.
It might be family. I'm just picking people randomly. I've had people actually pay for an aging care manager for some of their elderly family members who can help them go through the insurance paperwork and all the just nice, easy support. I'm just trying to get you to think through alternatives. Yeah, if your friend's got a whole lot of money, they're not getting it. But who else can we The other one that I'm guessing might fit you too is what random acts of kindness can we do? This is the old keep $100 in your pocket and every once in a while just take care of something for somebody. Have you two thought about that at all? I see smiles, so it looks like it might ring, but
I have not thought about it, but that's something I would be totally, totally down for. That sounds like fun.
One on that, and we can do that one to start. Each of you get a $100 bill from the bank. Because you can't get it out of the ATM, but get a $100 bill and keep it on you at all times. Find somebody in the next month to give it to. I don't know who, don't care. And you two can talk about who'd you give it to, why, where, whatever it is. When you do this, the classic is, hey, I gave it to the waitress for an extra tip or, whatever. But $100 to some folks could completely change their life. And let's be real, $100 to you two is not going to make or break your financial plan. Not a big deal. But if you had a challenge that over the next month, you were each going to a random act of kindness, $100 to somebody, would that work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds fun.
Yeah, that is fun. I never $100, but I one time did something. I was in the drive-thru at Dunkin' Donuts because it's New England, so of course I'm at Dunkin' Donuts.
It's Dunkin' now, by the way. They dropped the donuts.
It is Dunkin'.
It's Dunkin' only.
So I was in line, and somebody paid for my meal, and I remember hearing, when people that was kind of like a trend for a little bit, and pay it forward, and people had commented, most of the time the person who's waiting in the drive-through line to pay for their overpriced drink doesn't really need it. It's probably the person working there. I think I was going to pay with a 10. And so I ended up handing it as the tip. And I don't know, I felt kind of awkward about it, but I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm in the drive-thru and then I can drive away. And I don't know why I felt awkward about it, but but it was also kind of like it's a nice thought. So I don't know. I like the thought of doing, something like that. I think the thing is maybe I'm reading into things too much, but you don't always know what someone's situation is. And I also don't want to insult someone by being like, here, you could use this, I don't know why. That's a weird thought, but
So Shannon, the person that bought your Dunkin', sorry, I got to get the name right. It's kind of like Twitter and X, I'm going to names. So the person that bought your donut, they weren't saying anything about you. They were just kind of doing a random act of kindness. Did you take it as a negative?
No, not at all. No.
I love doing this. Like my wife and I like to go out to eat. That's kind of like one of our fun things. I'll randomly find somebody and I'll be like, I'll grab the waiter, waitress. I'm like, that table, I'll take the bill. What's the science behind it? Nothing. Just somebody like, I had one look at the table and the person just looked a hell of a lot like my grandfather who had passed years ago. And I'm like, Gramps, dinner's on me. And those things you remember. You're remembering a Dunkin' run from years ago. It's the random acts of kindness that work. The other one, I've done, and it's kind of like, I was at the grocery store, person in front of me started ringing, and they got to the point where the number was higher than whatever they had left in their money. And I just handed forward my card. Cashier was like, I get it. Rang my card, and the person left. I'm like, you had a bad day. You ran out of money. It happened to be, somebody was on Snap and ran out of Snap. I got you. I'm not making any judgment. I'm just like, the bill was like $80. I'm like, I could have spent that on meat just randomly because they had a great roast that I wanted. You remember those things and they have an impact on both you and others. You will find people that are struggling somehow where a little help can go a long way. But I am going to ask you next month what you did because you'll find somebody. It's just, then people are like, well, what if they take the money and use it for beer? I don't care. Seriously, I'm not judging how they use the money. There are a whole lot of people out there that are struggling. And if it's somebody that's doing well, fine. They had a good day. Who cares? Mike, because you travel a lot, you're going to run into random opportunities probably more often. The more you're out and about versus working from home, you're just going to see it randomly. And you're like, and then you get to text Shannon, I gave my $100 out. And she's like, tell me the whole story. If spending on you is not going to work, let's spend on others. What are you thinking, Mike?
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I'm ideas are churning in my head. What I want to do.
What'd you come up with? Give me one.
Oh, yeah, no, I liked buying a random person's dinner. Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of folks do this come down towards the holidays. I'll cover somebody's gifts and the data says, yep, people actually do that. But if you could do it across the year, I'd love you both to get a point where you're giving away $100 each a week instead of a month. If that's going to get you more joy than spending it on travel, let's do it. It doesn't have to be, people think about giving as oh, I gave away $1 million and now I got my name on a building. No, that's pointless. It's the other things that can make a big difference. I think also for family, because friends didn't work, think about what you can give them for either help, services, other things. They won't take the money from you, but can you you were saying your house needs to get painted. I bet you it's actually not that bad, but one of your family members hey, my house doesn't need to get painted forever. I can't afford it. Just go order a painter for them. Seriously, and take the bill. That might sound a little bigger, but it can go a long way. I had somebody a family member who their gutter had gotten hit by a tree and this. I just called the gutter guy. Go over to his house and put a new gutter in. It's $400. And they were over here worried about how do I replace the gutter? And person shows up and they're like, who said you should come to my property? Oh, Jay ordered it. Call him. By the time they called me, the gutter was already up on the bill, on the house, and it was done. It's things like that that can make a big difference.
Well, I was just going to say, I have a lot of people I can think of like that, but for me, a lot of people are people I work with, and in particular, people I supervise. So that's why I know some of their situations, but then I'm I don't know how that works, and I wouldn't want to, it's...
You won't supervise them in July.
That's very true. I will not. I'll just have to keep them in mind. But just saying that, I had, one of the people I work with had a tree fall and take down her fence, and it was actually on state property, and the state was going to come and, take the tree, but I don't know that her fence is going to get fixed, and know that that's a really difficult thing for her to do. And so, something like that, I'm I'd love to be able to fix the fence for her, So yeah, I've a lot of situations like that I can think of with people that I work with.
See, now you're thinking. And sometimes we can give them physical gifts, all that. I'm thinking of the tree one. We had a bad storm come through, and somebody had a tree all over the property. I'm like, so my wife said, "Let's go." She said, "What?" I'm like, I loaded up the chainsaw, loaded up my gear. I'm like, let's go take care of it for her. Now, at the time, getting tree service, all that was like going to be weeks. And they're like, "What the heck? He showed up with a chainsaw, and the next thing I hear is out him running a chainsaw." I'm like, "You got a tree down, you got a problem. Let's go fix it." And those are the things that we only have so many opportunities to make an impact in the world. Those are the ones that matter. You can make so much more. The other one I want you to think about, and this one's a little weird, but just go with me. There's some weird stuff, and this is weird because it's not always perfect, of volunteer tourism. You go travel somewhere, you give back, all that. The reason it's weird is some programs are really not really helpful, and some are. So maybe that becomes part of your fun time, is figuring, can we go to XYZ and help out? Or is it really just like a pointless trip? Like there's ecotourism that really doesn't help things, and then there's ones that actually do. You might find something in the middle. With that, Mike, yes on? What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, what would an example be? I know you said ecotourism, but
I have one. I did an internship with one once. It was a farm cooperative in Guatemala that they, were people who had worked on farms, plantations where, working conditions are just not good. And they kind of came together as a community and took over banana and coffee plantation that was no longer running. So they I don't recall how they obtain the property, but they set up an ecotourism so you could come stay on the property with them and help them with the work while getting to drink coffee from the trees or plants, whatever that you picked the coffee beans from, and make hot chocolate with the cocoa pods that you also picked. You get the experience of it, but you're also helping them actually do some of the work. And you spend time with the families, that live there and just get to meet them and help but learn. And you're in a beautiful location with, like I said, bananas. You just go pick a banana off the tree.
Mike, what do you think about that?
maybe not my wheelhouse really, but I might give it a shot.
So what we're looking at is the intersection between what you enjoy, what you want to do, what you want to do with your money, and what you want to give. There's no perfect answer here. We're trying to find that, because what we're going to do is you guys got about 3 months, and then it's going to be interesting. 3 months from now, you're really going to get hit. We paid off the house. The bank is fine. What's next? If we can find one of these, it becomes the impact, the legacy question, the bigger picture. I'm trying to prime the pump a little bit on this discussion. There might also be good volunteer opportunities near you. I'm thinking we used to my wife and I used to volunteer at a group actually up by you guys, up by the airport, of the Migrant Farm Workers Clinic. They have farm workers that come in from all across the country, and we would go, I think it was Tuesday nights, if I remember correctly. Tuesday nights, and we would just do medical exams and, basic stuff. And there was a huge, huge need, and it was part of a med school relationship. It was awesome. And every Tuesday we'd go out to the clinics, do a couple hours, know we're making a difference, and then go on our own. Whatever it is. That's what I'm trying to I'm trying to give your money a purpose. Just saving money is not a purpose. That's mindlessly saving. That's what I'm trying to prevent.
Good. I was just we have a farm workers program where I work. So I'm like, I wonder if any of the paths crossed in that area. So, but I like that thought a lot. And I think it very meaningful purpose to what you're doing. And I enjoy that. I like that thought.
Shannon, I'm going to bring this back to where we started. What I'm trying to test is what fills your cup and what doesn't. And what we're going to see if your job does or doesn't. Should you volunteer your time or your money? I'm testing that out, because we're really saying, okay, Mike's got another, 15, 16 years. What do you want to do during those time? And how do you make sure that all comes online? We're trying to take your life from a 9 to a 10. We're not saying it's sucking either way. It's just those last few points of optimization. On the next time, we'll actually talk about for this stuff that we're going to save, we'll set up a separate brokerage account. Right now, I saw you have one with some mutual funds, lower cost ones to set that up, just so we have a place for that. But other thoughts, questions? I didn't ask you about the estate planning stuff that was on your homework because I figured you were vacationing. So I will check back on that next time. I think my challenge to you two is to figure out where your money, where you can make an impact with your money for both you and others. And then we can figure out how that fits in your financial plan. So like, depending on what answer you give me on the giving side, we'll answer some of the tax side, some of the savings, we'll set up that. Like, it'll all make sense. But the extra money, you got kind of a month or two before you're like, what do we have all this money in the bank and what are we doing with it? And like, I'm just trying to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's helpful. Thank you.
I will warn you both. You are also in what we call the boring middle, which is like, you kind of have to do nothing and everything goes well. Usually that's where some drama starts. I don't know what that's going to be for you two, but like, just be aware. Once you don't have to really worry about money, it's just doing its own thing. People do stupid stuff. And I don't really know what it is. I really can't get ahead of it. I'm just trying to get you like to be aware of it. This is when people are like, oh, no, I need to go buy this Ferrari. I don't think that's your example, but like, and I'm like, why? And I'm going to buy it on credit. I'm like, you just paid off your house. Why are you buying a Ferrari on?
That will not happen. No credit will happen. I can assure you.
I'm not a Ferrari. Who knows?
But I'm giving you the warning because the boring middle is dangerous because like, really, you guys just got to like, just do what you're doing and you're going to be great. Which then people go, well, that's too easy. There's no struggle to that. There's actually a physiological response from your body is what I'm trying to watch out for. I've just seen people do silly, like, you're like, what did you do? And they're like, well, I didn't want to tell you about that. And I'm like, okay, the boring middle strikes again. And it's usually something silly or easy to fix. But like, I've had people fight over, random items, chicken nuggets, who knows? So, all right.
Yep.
It's coming. I'm just trying to get ahead of it.
Well, we'll try and be on the lookout for it.
I'll get a random email
before we do it.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.